So Joe Biden is on a Zoom call, and what does he talk about? It's a Biden meltdown if there ever were one. He talks about voter fraud and how that's exactly what they're doing. And this is kind of like an infant, right? When you have a 4-year-old and they have no filter and they just say whatever's on their minds. Like, you'll be holding your infant who's 4 years old. You're walking down the street and your infant says, "Oh my God, look at that guy's big nose, Mom." There's no filter. Well, here's Joe Biden. He's an older man. He also has no filter because that also happens in old age. We have a clip on this, and here it is.
Secondly, we're in a situation where we have put together, and you guys did it for our administration, the President Obama's administration before this. We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
The most extensive and conclusive voter fraud organization in American history. He literally said that on a Zoom call, and you just had an opportunity to watch it and see it. It's just unheard of, ladies and gentlemen, because we know that's, as conservatives, we know that's what the Democrat Party has been doing with this pandemic. They've used the pandemic and politicized it in such a way as to allow unlimited absentee ballot voting, unlimited mail-in ballot voting, no really end to the actual voting itself. Because, of course, the whole idea of having a voting day is because at the end of that voting day, if your ballot isn't received or cast, it's not counted. That's why you have a deadline. Deadlines they exist for a reason. But not with the Democrat Party, and especially in the state of Pennsylvania, other states too, like Michigan, but most definitely in the state of Pennsylvania, where they have pulled out all the stops to create the most conclusive voter fraud organization in history. And there's Joe Biden admitting it. Talk about a meltdown. That's why we're calling this podcast the Biden Meltdown, because he's literally saying all the stuff that we've all thought was happening, except because he's an elderly gentleman who really isn't quite there. He just makes these crazy mistakes. And speaking of which, he also said in another Joe Biden Zoom call with his wife, Jill Biden, and Joe Biden in the same Zoom call. So you have to listen to this. I wish if you could watch it, that'd be great too, but listening is good enough. He's talking about his opponent. And guess what he says? He forgets his opponent's name in the presidential election. We have this clip, and here it is.
This is the most consequential, not because I'm running, but because who I'm running against. This is the most consequential election in a long time. And the character of the country, in my view, is literally on the ballot. What kind of country we're going to be? 4 more years of Georgia, going to find ourselves in a position where, if Trump gets elected, we're going to be in a different world.
George Washington? I don't know. George Hamilton? I don't really know. George, you should have seen, and Jill's face, of course, you can see she's trying to keep it together, but what are you supposed to do? You're on camera. You're supposed to say, "Honey, it's Donald Trump. It's not even George. George isn't even close," So Biden, it's full-blown meltdown. So imagine if this man were president of the United States. He cannot even keep an 8-hour day schedule, let alone an 8-hour week schedule. And we're seeing this in real time, why he's not capable and why he's not able to really fulfill the duties of president of the United States, which is why if Biden-Harris win, it's really going to be a Harris presidency, which of course is a presidency of, the far left because of her San Francisco roots, and there's nothing that she doesn't think should be done in the United States that is in accordance with the Constitution of the United States. In fact, she doesn't even believe in the Constitution of the United States. Joe, of course, there may be a long time ago, maybe, when Joe actually had principles, but those principles are out the door because he doesn't have the cognitive ability to actually govern, let alone run an election, as we're seeing. So that's Joe calling Donald Trump George, his opponent.